You didn't do anything. You were too busy, screaming about nepotism.
We start with the Ravens rolling 5 wins in a row. Lamar goes for 5 touchdowns, Brew, only 5 incompletions. Here he is post-game.
Does it matter to kind of do the things you're doing on a stage like this?
Nah, I'm chasing something right now, so each and every game is going to be the same thing for me. Like, I'm going to be the same person. Every game I'm trying to win.
Okay, here's Lamar this season. Weeks 1 and 2, a little bit of a slow start. This is what he's been doing. He did it last year too, a little slow start, and then ramps up. Points per game now up to 35. He's completing 71% of his passes. Total yards per game, 300. That's a little bit of a drop. 15 touchdowns, 4 turnovers only, and passer rating is now at 137, Brew. And obviously this game was in Tampa Bay.
Wow.
Can anyone beat this version of the Ravens?
Well, before I answer your question, Wilds,
yeah.
let me tell you guys what happened last night.
Please. Good.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, thinking they're all that because they were 4-2, they beat everybody's darling, the Detroit Lions.
That's true.
And Baker Mayfield was rightly a top Brews MVP ballot. They were feeling good, so they invited the Baltimore Ravens over for a game of tackle football.
What happened?
And Baltimore wanted to be polite. They didn't want to be rude. Initially, they go there, they're being nice. And then the Buccaneers start feeling themselves. Start talking trash, start getting rough with them. And so they had to put the smack down. All right? And that's when they threw their legs up on the table to showcase their purple and black Ravens Jordans. That's when they said, go, Baker and the rest of you guys, and fetch me a robe. And of course, that's right. They had to say it. Yep. Get me a sandwich, some chips,
To this.
and a soda pop.
That's an executive around
That's
here.
a huge type of chips. And that's what happened last night. And because the Ravens owned their house and they had 6 straight scoring touchdowns or 6 straight scoring possessions and 41 points to prove it.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, what was your question?
Can anyone beat them? And so, do you want to answer that? Or do you want me to
go ahead first.
All right. So I won't mention the obvious one, the team that always beats them, that beat them in last year and beat them to begin this year, because that's people. We've had enough Chiefs-Ravens arguments for a while. We don't have to do it right now. But absolutely, a lot of teams can beat them. I'd take Detroit over them right now. I understand the transitive property of Tampa beat Detroit, but I'm not worried. It is not about Lamar, but we will get to Lamar, who was brilliant again. It's about the fact that when this is your defense, a lot of teams can beat you. Will they? I don't know. We can show you their defensive numbers, I think. But if we can't show it to you, they're bottom. There we go. Last year, awesome at everything. This year, kind of the opposite. And so... anyone that has a competent offense, and the Bucs, by the way, had a very good offense that then lost Mike Evans, and at the very end of the game lost Chris Godwin, you're going to be susceptible for a loss. So I think we're a little, it's been 15 hours, not too long, but in the afterglow of a brilliant Lamar performance and an offense, and Derrick Henry, who was like, why aren't they giving Derrick Henry the ball? And then bam, 80 yards down the sideline. The offense looks unbelievable. Yes. But I think right now the team as a whole, questions like this slightly overvalue it because defensively they have more issues than any Ravens team since Lamar's been there. True. So, I just think that's fair. And maybe it speaks to, and I know we're going to get to it, his MVP case later, because they have to score a ton of points. But I don't think this Ravens team is, forget the Chiefs, just a clear best other than the Chiefs team in the NFL right now. I don't feel that way.
I think they can be beaten by themselves. Now, I think, Nick, and you know this, I think they were the best team last year. They played best throughout the season, blew out a lot of elite teams.
A ton.
And then, no discredit to the Chiefs. They did what they had to do. But the Ravens, an identity crisis in the middle of that, not even the middle of that game, the beginning of the game, and penalties and the like. And that's my concern about them now. What you said is true. The defense, Tampa Bay was gashing them early on. And then Mike Evans, as you said, got hurt. They got the interception, which turned everything.
Yes.
Then they got the second interception, and then it was off to the races. But what shocked me was the run game, because they've been good against the run this year, but Tampa Bay was actually running on them. So, but here's my thing, and you guys know they have a culture of defense. Hadn't shown up yet for the sixth. Now, the last 2 weeks, they were pretty good defensively, but not last night. But I do believe that they still have some very good defensive players, Roquan Smith and all those guys. And I do believe they'll get it together. Not like they did last year, but they'll be much better than this, because they got to be better. But also, Nick, 9 penalties for 85 yards last night. They're the second or third most penalized team in the league right now.
Yeah.
That's a self-inflicted wound.
But that can go away.
That's kind of been
tighten that
well.
up.
They have. I'm with you in that. That's kind of been something. Who they've been. If they want to beat the Chiefs, they got to tighten it up. And then special teams.
Tucker finally is hitting big kicks.
Tucker's looking good, but there have been 2 onside kicks that were recovered in the entire league this year. Both of them were against the Ravens, Dallas and last night. Yeah. So those are things you can fix yourself, but they just got to tighten it up. And I like John Harbaugh, but I think he's got to tighten it up a little bit, because the
you don't
mistakes.
like the end of the games either.
Well, the end of the games, that's just.
I know, but
I almost didn't bring out the robe because of that last night.
No, you should always have the robe ready. They get up. It's a good problem to have. They get onside kicks because, hey, we're up so much. We're onside kicks. We lose fourth quarter leagues. We're up big. So
but the problem is, you got one team. I know they got to get there, but you got one team in believe me, Lamar's got one team in his sights. And to beat them, you don't have room for error. And that's where those self-inflicted errors come.
Also, before we move on to the Lamar MVP thing, can I just also, I have to be fair. I call the Bills the September champs. Mm-hmm. The Ravens being, and there's no banner coming, the Ravens being the team of October and Lamar being the MVP in October.
He loves it.
We can just go through the headlines since he first became a starter. 2019, Lamar Jackson on the verge of usurping Russell. Oh my goodness, Russell Wilson MVP conversation. Those are the days. That's also not how you spell Aaron Rodgers' name, but that's fine. CBS, terrible job by you.
Really?
All right, 2020.
A lot of vowels.
Jackson shows MVP for him. Helped Washington to beat Washington 31-17. What about October of 2021? How was that one? This is the best Lamar Jackson we've ever seen.
Bill Barnwell
from my friend Ben Solak at The Ringer. Well, you're going to see Ben a few other times here. October of 2022, what was the Lamar Jackson MVP candidate leads clutch drives, Ravens beat Bengals. October of 2023, was it more Lamar Flowers? The hot read, Lamar Jackson for MVP. And October of 2024, yesterday, Lamar Jackson is MVP. Sorry, Brock Purdy's flaw. I don't know why they included that. That was just that.
You know that's the only reason you put that.
So, I know who in October typically looks like the league's best team and who looks like the league's best quarterback. Very often it's Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. And that's, I don't know how much that's worth, but it does, and it almost sounds like I'm taking a shot. I'm not. It does show that different iterations, different coordinators, different personnel, they are, by around the time we get to the midway point of the season, always look awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A couple of years Lamar got hurt, and we know the playoff stuff is the playoff stuff. But every year around this time, it's like, you know who might be the best team? Baltimore. You know who might be the MVP? Lamar. And so it's not, that part's not new.
All right, with last night's performance, Lamar has now jumped to the front of the line for MVP, followed by Mahomes, Allen, Goff, CJ, and, of course, J-Lo. Presiding wisdom is that the postseason foibles of Lamar would hurt his candidacy, but he does look like the MVP, Brew. So are you okay with Lamar getting another MVP this year?
I am. If he wins it, I will be fine with it, assuming, of course, he keeps playing like this. And I'll admit, when the season started, Nick, if the MVP race is a 100-yard dash, everyone else, other than Lamar, every other player in the league started with a 25-yard head start because of his struggles in the playoffs for the most part, and he's already got 2 MVPs, including last year. So voter fatigue is real. A lot of times when guys, excellent, all-time great players, have comparable years, they've kind of divvy it out. Oh, he hasn't gotten one yet. So stuff like that put Lamar at a disadvantage to start the season. But Nick, if you're that good, like, I don't think precedent